I'd like to introduce this panel, and I'll go through and let our speakers introduce themselves here in just a minute. But before I do that, I want to say I finally found an Occupy movement I can support. And just thought I'd let you all know that it's pretty cool. Let's go to Mars. By the way, this is from SpaceX, and if you haven't heard, that's where Elon wants to go live. He really does. And I haven't met him, but I've read a lot of interviews with him, and he's sincere about that. And this was a hat they gave away at a Mars conference earlier this year. I do work for NASA, and because I work for NASA, I have to give this disclaimer that I'm really not here representing NASA. I'm representing myself as a private individual, as the chair of the Tennessee Valley Interstellar Workshop, and as an author, and as basically a fan who's geeking out all the time because he actually gets to work in the space industry. And so I'm looking forward to a great weekend with everybody here, and I think you'll enjoy this panel because we're going to tell you what's happening right here in the Tennessee Valley that I think one day will be noted as a citation in the history of the first interstellar voyage. I really believe that. And it's happening with the engineering and science and brain power and interest level, not just of scientists and engineers, but of anthropologists, artists, authors, and the many talented people that are in the Tennessee Valley as it stretches from its start up near Knoxville through Chattanooga and on through Huntsville. So we stretch from the Oak Ridge National Laboratories through TVA territory, past the Marshall Space Flight Center, and on to Decatur, where they build the Delta IV and Atlas V rockets, and further along the valley. It's an incredible chain of talent and interested people, many of whom you'll meet here this weekend. Before I get into the history of the TVIW, and we start on that, which I'll let Robert share a little bit with me, let me get our panelists to introduce themselves. You can say who you are and what your role is with TVIW, and anything else you want to say is by way of introduction. So Martha, we'll start with you.
First. Okay, my name is Martha Knowles. I am the Secretary-Treasurer for TVIW, and I try to keep all these cats in tow.
Lots of ruck.
Yeah, I know. I've been involved since the first TVIW in 2011.
Whatever you're comfortable with, that's fine if that's...
I'm good.
You're good.
You know, if
All
anybody
right.
wants to know anything about volunteering, if anybody wants to know anything about being involved in TVIW, come see me. I have the shirt on. Rhonda.
Okay, my name is Johan Lowe. I am from Huntsville. So actually, my day job is I'm an actual rocket scientist for NASA. I'm a NASA contractor. It's a different thing. And see, I'm a TVIW board member, and I've been involved with TVIW since TVIW number 2. Yes, right. I kind of grew up in the South, and I moved from Taiwan to South Carolina. So, and then I went to school in UT Knoxville, and I somehow got a job in Huntsville. So I never got out the Tennessee Valley. So it's just a perfect fit for me. One side note here, I'm sure you can see my bio on the programming book, is that I do some crazy stuff after work. I'm also involved in a space. I'm also a chapter leader of National Space Society in Huntsville. So our claim to fame on this short, which is highly rated seller, is that we launched a Raccoon, which is a hybrid rocket off a balloon back in '97 that reached 30 plus miles, give and take, depends on how you count, how you determine the attitude. And ever since then, we try to do something bigger, but we can't because we're a bunch of engineers and we have ADD. Okay. Fast forward a few years, I took over the group about 2005 and wanted to restart the rocket program. Okay. And I'll get to what is important. We had this great vision. We want to do this by this year, by this time. We want to do X, Y, and Z. We'll get sidetracked. No, let's do something else. Let's build a rocket engine. Let's build a jet engine. Ooh, let's build some aluminum and build some aircraft grade aluminum, whatever you want to say. So we kind of, got away from our path, but we're getting back together again. And hopefully, sometime next year, maybe a year after this, I'll be here talking about our next big project, which eventually will be one step toward making interstellar travel real. And there's going to be tiny baby steps, but you'll see why things do happen from a small group. And that's my time to TVIW is, you don't have to be big. You don't have to be a company with 100,000 people.
Although it would help if you want to help with us, and you do that.
But if you have the right people, right mentality, and right attitude, small group can make a difference. Huntsville group did it. We actually inspired Spaceship 1. So you can see when Spaceship 2 flies into the hybrid motor flying, you can see some part of the Huntsville history here. So hopefully when we build our first Starship in, I don't know, 25, 55, I don't know, whatever that is.
Hopefully it's not that far away.
Yeah. You see a little bit of Tennessee Valley in there. Yeah. So.
Thanks, Johan.
Sorry.
That's fine. Go ahead, Ken.
I'm Ken Roy. I'm on the board of directors for TVIW. Been here since TVIW 1 in Oak Ridge. I am from Oak Ridge, retired DOE contractor. And so this is an interesting hobby, an interesting group of people to get involved with. My particular interest is more along the lines of what do we do once we get there. And I've published a number of papers on terraforming and geoengineering.
And not just anywhere. This is the oldest, most prestigious space journal on planet Earth. And how many issues are we in now? 4?
At least four. At least 4, with technical papers that came from TVIW or TVIW members. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm of the opinion that the human race needs to expand into space, and we need to go interstellar. And I'm doing what I can to try to get us there. And I hope to see some of you in the TVIW family. Thank you.
Robert?
So this crazy person sitting next to me came over to our dinner club one night. We all have dinner.
The Oak
once
Ridge
a week.
crowd.
The Oak Ridge crowd. And we're not related by blood, but for reasons that go way back, we just started having dinner once a week together. And he came up from Huntsville once because he's known them a long time. He sat down at the dinner. We were talking about space stuff. And he invited us to come present some of our geoengineering work, shell worlds, and the Jovian Tesla radio. 3 different papers. He invited us to come to Aosta, Italy, in the Italian Alps in 2011 to meet people that he liked a lot. And he decided we were worthy to meet his peers, and so we did. And they gave 30 papers that year, and we gave 3 of them. We gave 10% of the papers. And on the last day of the conference, standing there in the courtyard of this little hotel in the Italian Alps, he and me and a guy up in New York City named Greg Matloff.
And Greg's been here before as a science guest.
Yeah, about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And his wife, C. Bangs, is an artist. And Les comes up with this is so much fun, but boy, who wants to go all the way to Italy? We've got a lot of talent in the Tennessee Valley. How about the Tennessee Valley Interstellar Workshop? I mean, there's 4 words that go in a sentence. And it was such a bizarro idea, I thought, wow, we could do that. I just flashed on it, and then as soon as I got back, we started working to put the first one together. And it was such a success. Everybody was expecting it to be a one-off, might not even work. And people from the space community, some important people were there, and they said, you guys, luck or design, who knows? You've stumbled on something. And so we've done 3. We're coming up on the 4th, which is going to be in this hotel in February and March. Tell me if I'm stepping on your program.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
In the coming spring, we have a couple of members here. Joe Meany on the organizing committee. John Preston, our videographer, is the president of the TVIW. Drew Kirkpatrick is on the organizing committee. We've got a few more people in the room.
Several people here who presented at the workshop. Sam Lightfoot, we've had our science guest of honor here, Robert Hampson, was presented a wonderful paper on the effects of space radiation on the brain.
That guy over there
Jim Bell
got his first paying writer's gig.
With Bain.
With Bain.
Because of TVIW.
So we get Jim Bell. Everybody say the Jim Bell.
What can I do? I'm here to be all the time.
Let me interject here real quick. Tennessee Valley Interstellar Workshop started out as a gathering of like-minded people getting together for one day to basically geek out in Oak Ridge, okay? It sounds like fun, right? At the end of the day, a woman who is very active in the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, she is in Huntsville, her name's Carol Tevapaw, worked for Lockheed Martin for years, she's part of the space community, very in-depth with that. She said, you need to bottle this, you need to do something official with this, let this happen again, don't let this energy die, make a contribution. So we had our next meeting in Huntsville, and since that time, I think it was right after Huntsville, the organization was incorporated as a 501c3 educational corporation, nonprofit corporation in the state of Tennessee. It's received its IRS tax exemption status. And to fulfill that, not only do we hold workshops where we get together and we talk about how we might actually go to the stars, not just physically, but the psychological aspects, the anthropological considerations if we potentially have first contact while we're out there.
Systems engineering?
Systems engineering. We have several sponsors who participate and help make it happen now. It started out as a bunch of people basically meeting together and there was no money involved. But as we've grown, expenses started happening. We now have publications in journals. We rent a conference room. One of our sponsors, Digital Oilfield Solutions, is in the room with us. Bayan Books is a sponsor, and Tony Weiskopf comes to these things with some of her staff.
Yep.
Because she said that she wants her writers to hear how we might actually do it. Okay? So we're trying to reach out beyond just talking to ourselves. We're trying to get other people engaged. And we're trying to let you all know that just because this vision of going to the stars probably won't happen in our lifetimes, doesn't mean that we can't make a contribution toward making it happen in future generations.
Right.
And unless you start thinking about the big vision now, it will never happen. So that's what our goal is. We may not see it happen in our lifetimes, but we're starting to see things that we are contributing toward to happen. Is somebody want to chime in about the go ahead, Robert. I didn't want
My
to,
own
yeah.
opinion is 100 years just to get a robot probe to launch one that's capable of going to another century, and 200 years before some kind of living being makes the journey. And I don't care if it's 100 years or 200 years, because you all know the story of George Boole, who invented this funny branch of mathematics now called Boolean math. He invented it like 150 or 200 years ago, purely as an intellectual exercise, sat on a shelf gathering dust for over 100 years until in the 1930s, right before World War II, people are trying to figure out, digital computers, vacuum tubes, switches, and go, we need an algebra that can handle things that are just two value on and off. And lo and behold, there's this branch of mathematics that was completely worked out. All the axioms, all the theorems, all the proofs, boom. Blow the dust off. There we are. We now call them Boolean. Everybody knows the word Boolean. That's where it comes from. 200 years ahead of his time. So, don't let the stretch of time discourage you. We'll be in that footnote one way or another.
Just because we were all handicapped by being born too early doesn't mean we can't contribute, right?
This one I want to add is, as a space advocacy, this is what I do on my spare time. One of my things I do is I would like to hear what you, the public, the space enthusiasts, will see us, give us input on how can we sell this. I'm using the word sell as a commercial entity, but it is sell. We need to sell it to general public, to everyday people, where we want the phrase into selling travel, be a part of our common day life, just as cable TV or plus the weather. So we want to make sure that kids growing up today and our next generation will say, yeah, living on another planet is fun. I can see that. It's like something I want to strive for, and so that's what we want to input. In addition to some technical areas, we also want to hear from you. So how can we do better outreach? How can we engage the folks who doesn't know anything about nuclear fusion versus solar cell? What's real, what's not? And how can we inspire that? How do we generate a spark in that person's mind that who knows, he or she may be the next Einstein, the next, correct, science fiction is right, And let me, okay, sure, let me digress a little bit. My first, I always loved space when I was growing up, okay? And I don't know how how true his memory is, and I think it may be a little jumbled, is I remember this scene from Star Trek II, The LibertyCon, where the Enterprise and the Klingon, or the other ships, are on top of each other in the cloud. Now that scene stuck in my mind for ages, because to me,
it was way cool.
It is. To me, that's what space is.
Absolutely.
It's awesome scene where two go fighting, two groups, and it's awesome. So that inspired me to stick around in the space business as much as I can. If we can generate that spark in some kids' minds, like, yeah, space is cool, regardless how bad the movie is. If that is, or how bad the book is, if that inspired that kid or that person to do more research, to learn more stuff, you know what? My job's done. Yeah.
Well, in terms of inspiration, one of the projects that we do have in TVIW is an essay contest for students. And it's a student design competition that we hold before our workshops. And the winning student essay actually gets to come to TVIW. And that's kind of the prize. We hope that's a prize. We hope it's not a disincentive, right, to doing it. And so we're trying to engage students with that. And this year we are working on, and Joe is spearheading, a design competition to try to get college students involved. And we're going to have a one-year design competition where there will be judges. Bayan Books has agreed to be the sponsor for a prize to come for the winning science team, or the winning team, doesn't have to be science, that comes out of this design competition that we're going to have. And our goal is to engage the colleges and universities, first and foremost in the southeastern United States, because that's where we have our roots. But other universities and colleges can participate, but they have to be partnered with a college or university in the southeastern United States. So as we reach out and we do have international participation in TVIW, but we want to maintain our focus right here in the Tennessee Valley and in the southeast United States. So if you want to find out more information about this, ask us, let us know. If you have connections at a university or a college where you think they might be interested in having their students, undergraduates or graduates, enter this competition, get in touch with Joe, get in touch with any of us, find our website, www.tviw.us. And you'll be able to get on there and connect with us and email us, and we'll have information posted about everything we're doing on the site.
I have cards with me.
And a couple of organizational notes. One of the antecedents of Johann Society, he's the chairman of HAL 5 in Huntsville, an outfit called the National Space Institute and the L5 Society joined a 3 decades ago. They were two separate organizations. They joined, they became the National Space Society. Johann, I've heard a rumor that when the L5 Society was founded, that the board of directors put in their like articles of incorporation that the L5 Society would dissolve itself, would disband at their last board of directors meeting on an actual O'Neill colony.
Correct.
At L5.
That was what I was told, and actually got confirmed that by Gordon Woodcock, who was the last president of the L5 Society.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can disband TVIW, once we...
At Alpha Centauri.
We either do that, or we've kiddingly said, we will disband TVIW when you can start hearing people talk interstellar in the aisle at Walmart.
What target?
We might be on Alpha Centauri a long time before that happens. Yeah.
Robert Heinlein said back in the early 1950s, he gave an address at the University of Chicago, and he said, 500 years from now, when starships are going to Alpha Centauri, he goes, there will still be outhouses in upstate New York. So, the whole human race is not going to come along, but we want to inspire a good chunk of it.
Okay, one of the things...
You have?
Hear it though, but I already have it.
You had the conversation in Walmart. Okay, well, we don't want to disband yet. I'm sorry. We're going to have to.
We've got a lot of work ahead of us.
We haven't heard you, so it doesn't count.
One of the things that I think needs to be emphasized is this is humanity going to the stars. This is think about the people in the Conestogas going across America. Think about the Vikings going across the sea. They were taking their whole culture there. So we need to be concerned about taking us being all of humanity, all of our cultures,
The good and the bad.
the good and the bad, and you know, we like to emphasize the good,
Good.
but maybe, taking all of that to the stars. What do we take? What do we emphasize? Okay, these guys talk about science a lot, how we get there, but once we get there, or how the individuals interact as we go there is very important too. So we need that kind of input as well.
And we don't just talk, we get together, we have disciplined, organized, productive discussions that lead to a product that we go to some lengths to try and get published, you know, so that results can get out there in the community and move the field forward. And there's a bunch of aspects to living in space and interstellar travel where people have not even scratched the surface, let alone explored as thoroughly as, say, rocket engines. There are a bunch of disciplines. So, you know, in academia, why compete with 100,000 PhDs when you can strike out in a field, brand new field on your own, become famous? So that's something we offer people.
But at the same time, Robert, what I want to add is that, you know, true, there's a lot of fields out there that, that we haven't touched upon in terms of the technical, professional side. The science fiction, you know, arena, touch upon a lot of them. Some with some, yeah, some you say, yeah, that's pretty real. Some you can laugh at it, but it makes you think. You know, so to me, you know, I'm not a big science fiction reader. Give me a movie, A, B, C movie, whatever you call it, I'll sit down, spend an hour and a half and watch it. Even if it's not that bad, okay? To me, storytelling is a way for us, this being personal, for engineers, for visionaries, for scientists to try out different ideas to see how the public will behave, will react to it, or get some feedback. Because, oh, well, Ken and I were talking just before came here about the movie Interstellar, okay? Regardless of what people think about that movie, it does make you think a little bit. Or did she make the right decision? Or hope it's not a spoiler. What is that right? Is that true? What part of the storyline is real? You know, if you talk to other folks who doesn't know anything about interstellar travel, first thing they ask you, well, really, can you actually build that space station that big? Oh yeah, that's the O'Neill colony. Since that big, and this, and that gave people start talking. So to me, I get back to my ranting about outreach is we had different avenue of doing outreach, and also at the same time, we can use that avenue to solicit feedback to help us move forward. Because while we may not be, even though we may be on the right track, we may miss something. And somebody like John may pressing me say, well, that's true, but you forgot this. I said, oh, duh. But we weren't thinking that at the time.
Yeah, let's not forget, the challenge of doing this, just to put it in perspective. The Voyager spacecraft, people here familiar with Voyager, it's been in the news in the past few years because it finally crossed the threshold of the end of our sun's influence in terms of its outward radiation pressure, and now it's out in this region where the sunlight pressure from all the other stars in the galaxy basically added together equals what the output of the sun is where it is. The sun has gotten so dim, and it's beyond the heliopause and in the heliosheath. And so Voyager's out there, and it was launched in 1977. And at the rate Voyager is going, if it were pointed in the right direction, would take over 70,000 years to get to the nearest star. Not an exotic destination, but the nearest star. So we're talking about an incredible challenge. I mean, these distances are such that it's just, I don't think anybody can really understand them. I understand them in terms of numbers of zeros, after in front of the decimal point, but we can't experientially, grasp this. And it's going to be something that's probably the most difficult thing that we can envision doing right now. And it's going to take expertise beyond the engineering. I firmly believe if we're ever going to send people, you know, the human element is going to be our weakest link. Right now, going to Mars, the biggest worry I have is that people on an 8-person crew will kill each other, right?
Stranger in a strange land, that's the setup.
I mean, get in a, you know, your favorite RV with your 5 best buds and lock yourself in there for 3 years, right? So, and that's just going to Mars, okay? So we start talking about taking a voyage beyond the edge of the solar system to another star. It's an incredible challenge. Will we be human when we finally do this? Will we send bioagents? Will we send robots? Are we going to go? How do we do that? So it's a huge challenge. I saw a hand over here.
You were talking about Voyager. You might mention Michael Minovich.
Yes.
Oh yeah, please do. Because somebody, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim. You were there too.
Yes, if you do, speak loudly so people can hear you.
Well, one of the things about Voyager is they got there using the gravity slingshot approach. And at the last TVIW, we had Michael Minovich.
The man who invented planetary gravity assist.
Yeah.
And not only did he give a presentation, but when he went to when he visited Oak Ridge with us on the tour there, they had him sign their supercomputer.
What's funny was they didn't know who he was at first, but when one of the muckety-muck lab directors was told, "That's him," originally they said, "Well, we don't let just anybody sign the supercomputer," and then they realized who it was, and the director comes down and hands him a pen and goes, "Maybe you want to sign the supercomputer." And there's a picture on our website, so it's great.
Yeah, I do want to comment that at our last workshop, our plenary speaker was Professor Sarah Seeger from MIT, and she is basically the country's foremost expert on exoplanet research. And her title of her talk to our group as a motivator was The Search for Earth 2.0. And what she said basically is her job is to find our target. And I thought that was way cool. And she came down, we don't pay for expenses for our speakers to come in. And so, you know, we have guests, but guest means you're a speaker, essentially. You're not really a guest because everybody pays. We are a small group, we're a nonprofit group, we're an educational group, and we just don't have the budget to be paying, you know, expenses for people to fly in. And we don't have to, because people like Sarah, who is fascinated by how are we ever going to get to the planets I'm finding, wanted to come talk to some of the people who are looking about how we might actually go and do that. And so she was, we were thrilled to have her, and she stayed for most of the workshop, and I think had a really productive time with us there.
Actually, there's a number of ideas that we borrowed from you all.
Oh yeah.
The idea that everybody pays, that's a LibertyCon rule. It's a good rule to have, you know, because it makes it more peer-to-peer. John?
Yeah, I might mention that those talks from last year are also available online.
Yes,
you
go
through our
We have a YouTube channel. So
yeah, so just go to that, www.tviw.us, and then, you know, you can look at the various workshops, and there's a matrix of, and they're all on YouTube. There's a matrix of YouTube videos. You can see all the talks. So we got the idea of everybody pays peer-to-peer from you all. The con suite.
We're probably one of the only science conferences that has a con suite.
Lee?
Hospitality suite.
Hospitality suite, sorry. They wouldn't understand the word con.
Bring up the guy who created the gravitational slingshot. What are we doing about all of the people who were in NASA during the space years of getting us to planets? All that knowledge, all that gut, all that just ride by the seat of my pants, I know this is the right thing. All that knowledge is being lost to the generation that's in NASA now. In my opinion, not being in NASA at all. I think we're losing that mentality. Is it being documented somewhere? Is it captured?
Some of them do come to our event, and they talk to people of Joe's generation and Drew's generation. And we understand from the get-go, we understood we want to run a good workshop, we want to be productive, we want to be thrifty with money and all that, and we do. But we also understand in the long run, you know, we're not going to see these ships go, our children won't see them go. That's okay. We need to plan for the generations after us and keep bringing people in to our field to pick up the banner, to take the baton and move it forward.
But to answer Lee's question, I think if I heard you correctly, is that, for example, back in the Apollo days, NASA headquarters just commissioned a whole bunch of series of, I think the term is monographs, where they actually talk with different engineers, different astronauts. Essentially, this is a conversation, one-on-one conversation. They document that and make it into official NASA publication, which is free, right? And so NASA is doing that. Every for show they're trying to document these discussions, like you said. Why did you make this decision? Because a lot of these young, consider myself young compared to some engineer, the young engineer comes in to the workforce, doesn't know anything. So I'm book smart. I know how to do this, how to do that. But when we talk to somebody expert, somebody who does this days in, days out for years, so yeah. You don't need that. You can do one simple calculation here, and that gives you 95% accuracy, 99% done. And you don't need to waste that much time on it. Or two, this is why we make this decision at the time. So that information is being captured slowly. However, a lot of information are being lost, like you said, and that's where you hear the word graveyard a lot in aerospace. NASA, aerospace industry will bring experts. Folks like. I'm saying if Manovich is available, we'll bring him and help gravity says maybe invent something. Or if everybody retires, and we decide to build a continental sized solar cell, we may bring him back as a.
I'll come back for that. That's okay.
Because we lost that capability. So that's one thing is we don't have the capability to capture everything. We're trying our best to capture most of it, but that is a big hole right now. We don't, we listen to that.
Joe had a comment.
To what Johan was saying, one of the benefits of the way that TVIW is set up is that we're putting these science experts, we're putting professional writers, especially those that are brought down from Bain. We're bringing all these people into tight, close proximity, and those stories are being told and passed around, and we'll probably see them come out over the course of the next decade or so, as you get these stories that can transfer on. And so the people like Minovich that we'll be able to get some experience from and get that story told in a popularized sense, or even taking some experiences from John or Ken or Rob. Those kinds of stories will also get turned around and passed about, because we're incorporating people that are not only good at the science, but good at the communication as well.
Joe, speaking of incorporating in stories, I have a short story that, this is LibertyCon, they might be amused. I have a hypothesis why we got our 501c3 so fast. Because I've been in a lot of societies and I've never seen one come through on the first try so fast.
4 months.
4 months.
4 months.
From submittal to, here you go. You all remember a couple of years ago, the Tea Party up in Tennessee was having a little trouble with the IRS getting their some kind of tax exempt applications were being bounced, so there seemed to be a little prejudice in the process, and it turned out to be a great big furball, a big scandal. Several IRS directors resigned, one after the other. Big problem for the administration, congressional hearings, blah, blah, blah. So here's my hypothesis. Last year, the new IRS director comes out to Cincinnati. It's the field center where they do 501c3s. He says, all those problems we're having with Congress and the press and everything, I don't want to see that again. He goes, I don't care. A bunch of people from Tennessee say they're going to Alpha Centauri. They do a nonprofit, you give it to them.
That really happened?
No, that's my hypothesis. It explains the facts.
Okay, oh wow, darn.
Okay, my hypothesis is, I think it's a valid hypothesis.
Yeah, it is, but there's no evidence, I'm sorry.
My evidence is
It's not wrong.
that Robert and I spent, oh my God, number of hours putting this thing together. And we put it in the right way the first time.
Yep.
And just to give you something that'll make you pleased to be in a country that is favorable to small business formation, there is a sister organization to the TVIW, which is the Initiative for Interstellar Studies.
Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to them. They're headquartered in the United Kingdom, And they have been very supportive of TVIW. They come in force to our meetings.
Yep.
We have collaborative projects possibly in the work with I4IS.
Actually, their banner is in the art room.
And
Yes.
and so they, though, however, are dealing with the system in the United Kingdom. And the last I heard, it was 1.5 years and counting to try to get incorporated as a nonprofit. So
They
2
finally
years
did,
now.
but they were forced to change their name.
Okay, okay. And so, you know, we live in a country, and I'm thankful for this, that, you know, 4 months is fast. We were able to get our feet on the ground. And what's important about that is we really believe we want to do education and outreach. We want to have these meetings. We want to get universities involved. We want to get schools involved. We want to get you involved. So.
Excuse me, one thing I would like to mention is in the art show, there are models
Yeah.
available, 2 of them available.
It's a
for
charity auction.
purchase. It's a charity auction for
I4IS.
I4IS.
Skylon.
Skylon, which is actually, we kind of just slammed the British a little, so let's give them some credit now. Some British guys at a company called Reaction Engines Limited.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be limited, right?
Came up, yeah, that's how you know it's British. Came up with an idea for an air-breathing, single stage to orbit. Now you know why that's important. Vehicle that looks sort of like the old SST, single stage to orbit. And the miraculous thing about it is they came up with some miraculous heat exchanger. It's in the megawatt per kilogram range of, you know, the power and the mass. This heat exchanger makes the whole thing work. It's called the Skylon, and who knows? The Skylon might be the vehicle that knocks the cost of access to space down by an order of magnitude, which is the minimum that needs to happen for us to do the big things in space. I mean, science fiction makes me a better engineer, truly. It's the source of my creativity, but shoot, there's a limitation to engineering when it costs $20,000 a freaking kilo to put something up there.
You know, guys bid on this, you know, give them a little support.
I'd like to open it up in our last 20 minutes or so to questions from the audience. And I saw a question there. To speak loudly, and I can repeat it too.
Okay, so she's trying to find you the right spot. Now, what are you guys doing in terms of trying to determine how to get there? What kind of a drive to use? For example, the EM drive that NASA's looking at that everybody laughs at, but it looks like it's going to work. How would that affect getting to the stars?
Well, that's 2 questions. The first question is how would we look at getting there? We're looking at all the options. And within known physics, and the EM drive we'll put aside for a minute, because if it works in known physics, we don't understand the known physics by which it works. Is that there are several ways to do that, but they all have one thing in common, and that's whether you're looking at antimatter, and if you use antimatter, you need tons of antimatter. That's a scary thought, right? If you use a laser or a solar sail, it's not something like I'm going to be working on and talking about in the NASA update tomorrow that's basically the size of this room. You need something that's the size of the state of Alabama, okay? They all have something in common. If you're going to use fusion, I mean, the drive is huge and the amount of propellant is just unbelievable. The thing they have in common is they're all unbelievably large engineering projects. And as a consequence, the contributions that we're going to make are going to be incremental toward those, barring a breakthrough of some kind of innovation in, you know, quantum flux capacitor drive or something, right, which we don't know about. So, you know, the best we can hope to do is to foster the research, get original technical work done that furthers the field in some of this. There has been a special issue of the Journal of the British Interplanetary Society devoted to papers that came from our second workshop. They were peer-reviewed, published. People are citing these in research. We have our next journal issue that I'm the guest editor for, which is finishing up right now, that has papers from some of the people here that's going to be out there. So we're trying to do that. Will we be able to build that warp drive? Boy, I wish. Probably not. But we can probably have some pretty smart people do something original in the field that'll bring it one step closer. That's my answer to that. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in. Or other questions, too.
Take some more
I
questions.
have one
Jim?
comment, which is, you were talking about how to build synergy and knowledge transfer from generation to generation. One of the things your TVI, our TVIW doing
Ours, yes.
is what Robert was talking about, the workshop tracks, because you're putting these people together for a common task. You might talk about that.
That's a good idea.
So we've been interdisciplinary from the get-go. I mean, I like science fiction as much as the next man, and you know, I enjoy rockets. I enjoy making things go boom. Okay, but it's a vast civilization. There's numerous areas of knowledge, numerous specialties, and you know, I've noticed going through life that interesting things always happen when you get a lot of different people and put them down at a dinner table or at a work table. People from different backgrounds. They're all smart, but they're different. They come up with stuff that no specialist ever would, because they don't know. They have the innocent eye. You know, they don't know what they're not supposed to know. So they ask seemingly dumb questions, which actually never occurred to anybody to ask. And that's happened several times already. So we embraced that from the get-go. And you know, we're going to keep doing that because it yields results. Not only is it interesting and it's fun to be involved with, but it yields results. You know, we don't want to be stagnant and just a bunch of, you know, say rocket guys talking to each other, because that becomes kind of a ghetto. And you know, we have a large, diverse country, and we got to reach out to all those people. And the diversity is a strength. It makes us better.
And what Robert and Jim are talking about is, in addition to papers which are presented in a standard kind of conference format, we have working sessions where we have about 4 different topics, 4 different diverse tracks, and the participants are basically choosing to go work in a room on a common question, a common problem, collaboratively come up with some new ideas or ways to tackle that, and then get back and present that to the overall group. And in our next journal publication, one of those tracks has come up with some original innovative work that's going to be published in the journal based on what the people in the room in real time came up with. And that's part of our format for the TVIW.
And they continue to work together after. It wasn't over when the workshop was. So.
And that's also where the name came from, TVIW. TVIW.
Yeah,
Workshop.
Work.
Yeah.
In fact, if there's, it's a complimentary criticism, I would say. Everybody who writes about us, there's kind of a common theme that runs to it. Boy, they sure work us hard at that workshop, or not a whole lot of spare time at the workshop.
Well, we
I
don't
didn't have time to go pee.
Yeah, we don't take breaks.
That's not going to happen.
Well, it might, because the chairman likes to pack as much in as he can.
So. You will work, but you know, it's good work. It's inspirational. It's aspirational, and you meet a lot of interesting people.
And it's fun.
And it
Yes,
might
it's
make a
also
difference.
fun.
Yeah.
Are you publishing information that all of us can read and understand that don't have a PhD?
Okay.
Or all of these technical papers?
Okay. Let me answer that. It's a mix. Okay. The journal articles, not all, most are pretty heavy on math, engineering. Not all. We have anthropological articles. We got first contact articles. The philosophy of space exploration kind of stuff is in there also. The Bain Books, who is our one of our co-sponsors, has published on their website in their popular science essay. Jim Bell, our world ship broke. I believe you have one, Joe. What's yours, Joe?
Mine was the nature of nanotechnology inside space.
And the neuroscience one by Ted.
And Speaker has one on neuroscience. So we're trying to do that. And I have to say, Bain has been a critical partner to that. And before we had the workshop, you know, the anthology that I co-edited with Jack McDevitt about realistic interstellar travel, and there are essays in there as well as original stories. That's the kind of thing we want to see spun out and other people are going to do and get out. So we're trying to do that. The answer is yes, we try.
And
it's
speaking
a mix.
of Speaker, the nice thing that happened to Speaker as a result of
Well, tell him.
Oh, well, you know more about it, though, because it involves NASA.
Okay, I'll be real quick, and then we'll get more questions. Speaker, it was his first TVIW this last time around in Oak Ridge, where we returned for TVIW 3. And he gave a talk on the effects of space radiation on the brain. And there are some pretty bizarre things that had not been well studied in terms of the long-term effects of the space environment on the brain. Turns out, as a result of that, he has been invited to and is a part of a research proposal that's actually gone into NASA to get some money to do the research on the very topic that he broached the first time at our last TVIW meeting. And so one of the spin-offs that we're having from this, in addition to journal articles or popular publications, is stimulating ideas for original research to help solve some of the problems that we have to solve before we go to the stars. And that's awesome, in my opinion. I see it. I wish I could ignore you, that we have 5 minutes left.
5 minutes?
Let's take one more question, and then Robert has a demonstration. So, yeah.
Sounds like in some ways, some of you are missing the bowl. I'm old enough, I remember when going to the moon was only wackos and weirdos. And then in the first grade, I read this book about a kid who went to the moon. I read that one too. Yeah, a lot of us did. And you know what? Not a single fact in that book was correct when Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon. I suggest that it doesn't matter whether we come up with the technology. When humankind is thinking that way, we'll come up with the technology. That's how we got to the moon.
Thank you, yes, exactly.
I think there's thunderous applause happening.
Or the aliens don't approve.
It's either, we won't talk about aliens in this panel. So Robert, what you want to?
Yeah.
Robert has. Let me see if there's any other burning question. If there's an ooh, I've got to ask it. We'll take it. Otherwise, Robert has a demo. Yes, Sam.
One of the things I think we really should do is try to get into the popular literature as much as possible. I mean, we're hearing we didn't land on the moon because of Van Allen belt's radiation will kill anyone who goes through it now. Yeah. Nonsense.
Okay.
You're right. We need. Sam, I think you're absolutely right. And one of the challenges we face is the same one that I think it's faced in a lot of the science community, is how do you make that transition so that you get people as excited about what we're doing as who Kim Kardashian's dating. And I have yet to figure out how to do that, but I'm trying. I'm out there doing this stuff, and I think we all have to really pitch in to do
I've
that.
been trying to text you, my husband. I thought that citizen science would be a good idea to try to get a widely accepted populist concept to engage people who know people who want to submit the more scientific aspects.
Well, I turned myself into radio blackout, so I turned off my phone, so I didn't get my wife's text, so I'll have to be in trouble for a while. It is, I agree. And there are a lot of things we can do that we are untapped, mainly because there aren't enough of us who are attempting to reach these different venues to talk about it, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. Let's do the demo. We'll take questions throughout the weekend, too. So.
All right, so you've heard the expression Alpha Centauri about a dozen times tonight. So the Tennessee Valley Interstellar Workshop, I'm here to tell you, has an official drink. It's called the Alpha Centauri Sunrise. And Centauri, it kind of sounds like a bull, right? You all know Alpha Centauri, it's kind of a reddish star. So the drink begins with Red Bull. Okay. Oh, we're getting there. And of course, the sunrise, so, there's another drink.
TVIW has a lot of bull?
We got a lot of something. And then, because it's the Tennessee Valley Interstellar Workshop, moonshine.
I'll drink to that.
Oh my goodness.
And
okay.
And then finally, to make it into a real sunrise, you have a little grenadine to give you the, and there it is.
Oh, it's lovely.
Would you like a drink, Mr. Chairman? So thanks for being here. The recipe is on the web.
Somewhere.
And it's how some space organizations decided we were serious.
Oh, and one last comment. When you go to our website, if you are interested in helping out or participating, don't be scared off by the fact that we actually ask people who are going to participate to apply. And the application procedure is not, it's mainly because we want to know who's coming to the workshop and understand where they're coming from. And so we're going to ask you to come forward and say, hey, I am ABC, I'm interested in coming because of this, and this is where I'm from. And the whole purpose of getting you to go to the trouble to do that is to make sure that you're serious about coming to the workshop and not just somebody that just shows up. Because we would like our participants to be actively engaged. And the first filter for getting someone to see if they're going to be active participants is whether they bother to fill out the stuff that's on the application to come to the workshop. So if you're interested in coming, take it seriously. If you're not technical, that's okay. We have a lot of people there that aren't technical. We need that. But just tell us who you are and why you want to be there. And that's the first step toward getting involved in making something happen. And with that, I want to thank you all for coming, and we'll catch you all later on.
I have volunteer forms down here.
If you're interested, yep.
And see me at the bar.